to Praise Chapel Fresno. We haven't really changed our Wednesday night services. These are still continuing with just live streaming only. I got to be honest, Sunday was heartbreaking. Being here in an empty building, just trying to get through this. It's going to be a wonderful time, though. We are putting together process and policy and procedure to ensure when we decide to reopen and what we're going to be doing, that there will be a phasing process. There's plans in place already. We're continuing to check our policy and procedure against the CDC, the WHO, as well as the federal portion of the CDC and CDPH, California Department of Public Health Services. So we're glad you guys are joining us. Remember, you can continue to give via Easy Tithe on your smartphone. You can go to praisechapelfresno.com, click the upper right-hand menu bar, and it'll go down. You can see a place that says Giving. You can click on that, and it'll take you to a safe and secure website. If you're going to continue to mail in, drop off your tithes, your offerings here at the church, you can look at the locations button on our website, and it'll give you the address of the building. You can also just Google us, Praise Chapel Fresno, and it'll come up with all of our basic information that you can continue to mail in, drop off your tithes, your offerings here at the church. We'll make sure those get deposited in a timely manner. Although we're not having in-person services, there's still a lot happening in this building. So we're still sanitizing, we're still cleaning, just as we would. So we will continue to get your tithes, your offerings. If you mail them in, drop them off, and we'll get them to the appropriate personnel to make sure that they get deposited. So again, we're just to kind of reiterate from what our pastor told us on Sunday, is our in-person meetings right now are kind of shut down. We're going to comply with the recommendations that Governor Newsom has put out and stating exactly why he feels it needs to. But we're not going to wait on the governor's office to decide when we can open. We're doing this as kind of like a secondary check to make sure that we are keeping in the forefront of our minds your guys' safety, our congregation's safety, and sanitation methods. So this is a good opportunity for us to ensure that we still have all the supplies we need, that we still have the process in place. It's still good. Doesn't need to be revised, but also it's going to allow us an opportunity to kind of do this a little bit differently for a phasing process of getting people back into the building. We'll keep you guys updated with that. We'll be updating our website, so please just stay connected with us by any means necessary. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our webpage that's up. So much is going on. All this technology is just like floating around. 2 years ago, this church was not, we barely had a minimal social media presence. And 2 years ago, a year ago, we never would have thought that we would have to be just doing broadcasting, live casting. If you remember, I was kind of going back in our memories for what we did when this first started, is basically my wife and myself. Our media team was back then, we had cell phones, and we're doing this on Instagram. It seems so far away. And I'm only doing this because like we've officially hit like the 1 year anniversary of the novel coronavirus kind of being known. So I was just going through this, and I'm noticing like how we've progressed since then. And we're not going to degress, like we haven't had in-person meetings, but we're not going to be pulling back any of the other services that we do offer. I feel like that's something that is just necessary. That's something that people just cling to, so we're going to continue with those. But I'm looking back at this, and I'm just like, man, we have come so far in a short amount of time, and that's basically because not just of what the media team of who we appreciate that is done, but just of what you, the church, has invested into this ministry, seeing the benefits of us getting into the social media platforms, of us breaking into, live casting, these kinds of things. This was never on our mindset of doing. It's probably something we're looking at 5-10 years down the road of doing something like this, but I mean, when we got thrust into it, not only did our media team just jump together and answer to this, the congregation itself, you guys answered to the same call that we had. And I just think it's so amazing. But as I was kind of going through this and praying a lot about where God is taking us, something that's been hitting me, a verse that's just been hitting me left and right is in Hosea. And it's in 4:6. And it basically says, my people are destroyed by a lack of knowledge. And something that I've been putting towards that, something I've been looking at this is, there may be a group of us that really don't understand the importance of the technology that is being advanced. Maybe some people are seeing this, well, this is just for this time frame. But I can guarantee you that this is not just a time-based system, that this is something that we're seeing is witnessing across our state lines, across our county lines, across all lines, allowing anyone that wants to be part of this church, allowing anyone that may not be here in this building to tune in and still be part of the church of God. So what I want to do is I really want to talk about the benefits and just some things that are going on about technology. But I also want to give some warnings. There's some things that have been happening that I just think we need to be that we need to be mindful of. So number one is, not only does technology play a significant role in our life, it has a ubiquitous role in the presence of the church. We've seen that become more and more prominent on the social media platform, but what's happened is there's been a group of people that have taken a stance against technology into the church, against, they're saying we're not televangelists, we're not this, we're not that. Well, something that's interesting is technology is playing a role in the fact that their church still continues to operate. They have microphones, they have speakers, they have amplifiers. These things are all part of that same process, but for some reason they take a stance against, let's say, social media exposure or posting on the internet. So 96% of all Americans today own a smartphone, not a cell phone. There's a difference. A smartphone. That is 316.9 million people have a smartphone. In the past 24 years, we've seen a rapid development of this technology. Actually, it's the most advanced technology that we've seen happen in the last decade. We have unlimited and unrestricted access to the internet. Technology is merely the invention of something useful to solve a problem. So what we had is when we got shut down, we noticed that, okay, our cell phones were a great use to us to be able to continue to broadcast or live cast, whatever it may be, what's coming across in our services. So as that developed, as we saw the need for that to continue to develop, we just didn't stay with cell phones. We went to cameras, we went to completely separate sound systems, we went to video switchers, programs, software, all these kind of things have all encompassed what the church is doing today. I mean, think about it this way. There was a time the English alphabet didn't even exist. The English alphabet is considered one of the best technological advancements that have been around today. If English isn't your native language, speaking and reading it may feel as natural to you as breathing, but I applaud anyone who is English as a second language that is continuing to speak English, because you didn't get to the word like yacht and just give up after that. But it wasn't until the 5th century that the roots of the English language began to develop. Like every other written language, the English language was created to solve a problem. It was created to get everybody on one uniform system of speaking, so that way we didn't have to continue to interpret back and forth. Let's look at some examples of this in the Bible, of the use and the development of technology that God has done. So God chose to communicate with us in such a way that we could understand what he was saying. So we didn't require some decoder ring when this first started. He took Moses aside. He took all these men in the Bible aside, and he spoke with them. It didn't take some development of something. He chose to speak with them in a language that they would understand. This was in particular Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. Now, some things that we can see in the Bible where technological advances were there was, you look at in Genesis chapter 4, Cain builds a city. Then you start to see around that same chapter 4, they develop into the bronze and iron age where bronze and iron forges are being used. You have Noah who builds the ark in chapter 6 of Genesis. You have the Tower of Babel's construction that differed from the city of Cain. You have King Solomon's temple construction. Jesus himself even used carpentry tools to develop his skill as a carpenter, and that would have been the most technologically advanced that he could have used at those times. Paul even used written letters. Excuse me one second. God calls us to use the technology that we are given, the technology that is available to us for his glory and our good. It's in 1 Corinthians 10:31. It says, so whether you eat, drink, or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Look, social media, Instagram, all these things can be used for the destruction or the creation of what we're trying to do here. I'm going to talk about some consequences in a bit, but first, let's talk about how we're using technology. In sharing the gospel, we find one of the most defining marching orders for the church in Paul's words to the church in Corinth. So he says, to the weak I became weak, that I might win the weak. I have become all things to all people, that by all means I might save some. That's 1 Corinthians 9:22. So what is Paul really saying here? But he's saying we have to meet the people where they are. So right now, everybody is in home. Everybody is staying at home. Everyone is using social media. Everyone is using to reach outside their homes. They're using their social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever it may be. So we have to meet the people where they are already at. Paul's telling us this. He's saying, to the weak, I became weak. He's saying, I met them where they were so that I might save them. And see, it can get frustrating because we say, well, we want people to come into a building. We want people to do that. I understand that, but we have to meet them where they're at today. We can't expect them and say, look, when our church doors open, I want you to come in. And don't wait to share the gospel. Don't wait to share what this church is doing until the doors open and say, well, come to my church when it opens up. No, we do it now. We meet them where they're at today. And that's what God's telling us through 1 Corinthians. He's telling us, meet them where they're at today. Use what I've given you. Use what you've been blessed with to meet the people where they're at today. The church has leveraged technological advances throughout the past 2 millennia to reach people with the gospel. So at first we have letters that were done. Then we have books such as the Bible. We had megaphones back when people were doing street preaching. You have radio, magazine, television. Now we have computer software. There's movies that have been produced by churches, satellite, the internet, and social media. Regardless of what you may think about the impact of social media, here's what we need to know about the church's use of technology throughout history. The church could not have reached as many people with the gospel without the benefits of technology. Think about it. If this system didn't exist, so back when the bubonic plague was spreading around Europe, what the Catholic Church began to do was they began to send one priest out to one town square, and he would just begin to hold a mass. So he would just go out there, he'd put himself at risk, but basically it was one person would go out to one area, and that's what they would send out. That's what they were willing to do. And then when the Church of England gained prominence, they were doing the same thing. They would send one priest out, and he would preach a mass, and whoever would show up would show up. But now with what we've been given, with what we have, we've been allowed to share the gospel beyond the confines, not just of our building, of our homes, but of our city, our state, and our nation. Today, from social media and the internet, there's an explosion of new inventions of communication tools, and our church can use these to connect with people. So we use our cell phones. I can't remember. I can't even begin to let you know the last time I actually spoke with someone on the phone. Like, most times when someone calls me, like, can't you just text me that? Like, I'd rather just text. Oh, I do remember. It was, I got a call from my mom, and if you're a son and you don't answer the phone from your mom, I think like an angel dies or something. I'm just kidding. But I don't remember the last time that I was actually on the phone talking with someone rather than just texting, or whether it's a direct message on social media platform. But check this. Over 1 billion people log into Facebook every day. Instagram boasts that it has more than 500 million users every month. Twitter claims it has 328 million active monthly users. Social media is enabling many ordinary Christians to have one-on-one conversations about their faith with non-believers. And it comes as simple. It doesn't come as someone putting out there and saying, this is what I believe, talk with me about it. This comes as simple as reposting a picture, reposting a quote from a pastor that you heard or something like that. These are the one-on-one things that we're doing that are proliferating our faith. It can also encourage people to be comfortable enough to ask questions about faith. And I'll be honest, I've had more questions asked about faith via direct messaging or via messaging to me through my social media platforms than I've ever had of someone individually asking me. There are some consequences, though, that I feel like we need to be understanding of. We as a church, when it comes to us taking over the global consequences of what this church produces and what it puts out on social media, you know, we have a system in which that we're protecting ourselves. We're looking at licensing and things like that ensure that, you know, we're not opening ourselves up to any kind of litigious battles or anything like that. But we're also very concerned of who we put up in front of a camera. We're concerned about putting kids up in front of a camera because of what's been going on lately. So we ourselves, we look at the consequences, but there are some indirect consequences that I really feel like we need to understand today. So, on one hand, technology solves numerous problems around the world. It's alleviated diseases, it's improved the quality of life for billions of people. And on the other hand, technology can be used to inflict pain, suffering, and leads to these what I call unintended consequences. So, I'll give you an example of one. There was a pastor who, I believe he lives in the Midwest somewhere. He took a picture of a receipt from from like a restaurant that he was at, and you know how on the bottom of the receipt it has the recommended amount of tip, and it's like 15, 18, 23% or something like that. So he took a picture of that because I guess his bill was rather large, and he wrote on it before he took a picture, he said, if I tithe 10% to God, what makes you think you deserve 15%? And he posted that. Now, this pastor didn't understand the unintended consequence that would bring. So what ends up happening is people who were at the restaurant ended up seeing that. Some people knew who it was, and the server ended up finding it. They ended up sending it to a little website called BuzzFeed. And of course, what does BuzzFeed do? But they find this pastor's profile, and they begin to share it all over the place that here's someone who's just completely ungrateful, all this kind of stuff. And so this pastor, then he deletes the post, which instantly makes it like 100 times worse. And then he goes on the attack, and he begins to just put out that the service wasn't that great, and there was nothing he could have done at that point to help save himself from this situation that arose. All simply because he posted something that he felt he was right about. He felt like, why should I pay you 15% of what I did when I only tithe God 10%? And then pastors started jumping on top of that. Churches started jumping on top of that. It's not about 10%, it's about the gift. I mean, this thing blew up till this pastor literally stepped down from his post because of the damage that had happened to his image just because of what people were calling his ungrateful attitude. And then he went on the attack, and then it caused more of a problem. So that would be like an unintended consequence. I'm going to talk about one that I've seen more closely related to our church. But look, technology can be used constructively or destructively. It has no inherent morality. When Facebook first came out, people were saying Facebook is causing divorces. No, infidelity was causing divorces. Facebook was a method in which people were using to contact one another. Tinder has a huge explosion of people. 38% of the people that are on Tinder are married. If you're on Tinder and you're married, get off Tinder and get back to church. We'll pray for you tonight. But I'm just saying, like, everyone wants to blame and say it is a social media platform that causes it. No, it's the sin that causes people to fall away. This is a method. It's a vehicle that is being used to develop this. So it's not that the social media platform itself is inherent of morality. It's amoral. It is what we make it. We can share it. We can use it to share our faith or take stances on current social issues. We can use it to proliferate our faith, or we can use it to destroy connections. There's never been a form of technology that is so influenced by the common user than social media. See, it's easy to post a comment or a video with the push of a button and never really understand things that we wouldn't really say in a face-to-face interaction. That's what they call the digital life. So when we're in our social media phase, remember, there are things that you would probably put on your social media that you can do with the push of a button that you would never say in person. And it's because there's this development, this separation, that this is my digital life. It's not really me, it's just a version that I want people to see me as. We need to understand that these platforms should be a direct reflection of who we are with every post. With every post that we're putting out there, it should be defining who we want others to see us as. Now, I want people to see me as the same person. So if you were to go on my Instagram, what you're going to see is you're going to see pictures of dogs, my dog, my wife, and my musical instruments. Because those are my interests. That's what I would see people want to see me as. That's what I would want people to see me as. I'm going to be honest, there's probably more of my dog than my wife or my daughter, which I should apologize for. But if you were to see me at my house, I'm a lot more friendly with my dog. And that's a terrible thing. And then I have my musical instruments. But that's who we post who we want people to see us as, and that's who I want people to see me as. It's all too common that we can be unaware of these consequences. Like, I'll tell you one that hit a little bit too close because I saw it, and I didn't reach out to this person. I'm not going to name anybody, but I just saw it, and the quote kind of struck me as odd. So I researched the quote and I actually found this out. So look at this. We may share something, and it might be a nice comment or a saying about finding peace. You like it, you share it, it's a nice quote, whatever. But it's kind of contrary to the faith because the originator of that post was actually a page for Wiccans, or it's pagan witchcraft. So it was nice in a sense that it encourages people to find a peace, but it was the method in which it was bringing about that it came from a page that is basically designed to proliferate a faith in the spirits of nature. And I don't think this individual took it that way, and I don't think they understood that, but we have to understand that we have to watch what we're posting. We have to watch what we're putting out there. We have to watch it because what we're doing is, if you're not fact checking, it's just as bad as like babbling something that you believe is in the Bible without actually making sure it's in there. And someone building their faith off of that. Like, we have to be careful about what we say. We also have to be careful about what we post. This post was completely contrary to the faith that this person, if you were to go on that person's Instagram page, there were posts all over the place of Bible verses, but then you have this one post that basically is promoting witchcraft. And it's again, it wasn't openly doing it, but the originator of the site, the originator of the post was in pagan idolatry. So we have to be careful of that. Just as we want to be knowledgeable and discerning about what we allow into our lives, what we speak of, we use biblical knowledge to answer questions appropriately, we need to guard what we post or share. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are workmanship created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them." The internet and social media have become a predominant form of sharing religious services. Hundreds to 1,000 churches in the last 6 months have closed their doors because of their refusal to basically cohabitate with social media platforms or technology-based programs. They didn't do it when it first happened, and their congregation went away. And these are horror stories that I thank God every day that our church wasn't in. But you read about it, and it's, we didn't want to go through social media. We felt like this would kind of go away on its own. So we waited a month, we waited 2 months. Then when we opened our doors, nobody showed up. And, there are horror stories like this all over the place from April, May, and June when it happened. So we embrace the fact of social media, but we're being smart about it. We're being very discerning about what we're allowing to be posted, what we are putting out there. So if you're saying, well, I don't see enough from our church, I don't see it. Well, understand this, is that we have to develop a social media policy that will let everybody know what we're going to be posting out there. So if anyone hacks us or if anyone creates a secondary page, you'll know exactly what we believe. Just as we overcome the struggles to be a witness to our faith, our healings, a manifestation of the true power of God, our testimonies of conversion to speak to others in bondage of sin, let us recognize that our social media platforms are merely a continuation of who we are as individuals, as believers, and as a church, not who we are hoping people will see us as, but who we truly are. We also have to be careful what we're sharing. I mean, it's great to share stuff from other churches. It's great to do this. Let me tell you, your social media team, your media team is working diligently and hard to develop things that our congregation, will be proud to share. I'm going to be honest, it's a little disheartening when we see people sharing stuff from other churches but not sharing stuff from Praise Chapel Fresno. Zing. That hurts a little bit. Me. I know it hurts our media team for the amount of work they put in, but we have to be mindful of that, those kinds of things. Whatever our church is putting together, whatever we're doing, we are putting in line with the will of God for this church, and we're putting it out there for our congregation to share, to proliferate, to say we're excited about what our church is doing. I found some scriptures that really spoke to me. 1 John 3:18 says, "Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and truth." Let's put that in social media terms. People, let us not only post and let us love not only with posts and sharings, but with action and truth. Psalms 34:13 says, "Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from telling lies. For today, keep your posts from evil and your thumbs from sharing lies." Let's look at the limits of technology. As I'm wrapping up right now. There are countless benefits to what technology has done, but there are limits to what we as a church can do. There are limits to what we, or the media team that is developing, there are limits to what they can do. They can only go so far to put it out there for you guys. So there are two things that technology cannot resolve. There are two problems that we know technology cannot resolve. Number one, the need for the gospel. We cannot change the content of the message of Jesus Christ to meet the social norms. We have to be careful about that. Because all the stuff that's been coming up through social media, Christians have to take a stance on it. There are things that we know are immoral. There are things our Bible tells us is a flat-out sin. We can't change the gospel of Jesus Christ to meet the social norms. Look, and people say, well, that just means the church is going to be hated. The church is basically designed to be hated by specific individuals who continue to live in a lifestyle of sin. Because if the church wasn't here, no one would believe that they were in sin. So we are designed to point out where sin lies. We are designed to be a beacon, and there are going to be people that just aren't going to like it. But we can't change the gospel of Jesus Christ to meet the social norms. So technology can't change that. And we, as a church and our social media platforms, everything we're doing, we take a very hard stance against it, that we're not going to change to meet the social norms of what today is. We're not going to change the gospel. Number two, the need for face-to-face community. I'm not saying we have to come to church. We just told you guys the doors are closed right now. What I'm saying is we are hindered by our shelter in place and other recommendations. But as those are lessened, it is the responsibility of the church to accommodate safe in-person meetings. And then as people feel comfortable to return, that's what we're talking about. But when we talk about the advancements in communication tools that help us share the gospel, to connect with people and stay in touch with family and friends, but it cannot replace our in-person relationships. And there have been studies that have done on the psychosocial impacts of people that have been stuck inside and on social media, and it's horrendous. We're seeing depression, anxiety, these things on a rise, and they're things that we just pray against every single Sunday, every single Wednesday, every single day I'm praying against these things. But we can see this as a rising, and something that they know develops and breaks those kinds of spiritual bonds is when people are gathering together. And I can't wait until we're able to gather back together. We have great plans in place for that. But to make disciples, the church needs to have a physical presence. At its core, the church is an assembly of people who gather together with each other in person. Now, we can't do that right now. But that's another problem that technology will never be able to overcome, is the fact of people longing to be with one another, to share in community. Look, at this time, we're going to continue to utilize our social media platforms and virtual presence to its fullest potential, reaching further than we ever could have thought possible. But our reach, the media team's reach, my reach, your pastor's reach, ends right with your viewers right now. There is little more we can do than stand before a camera and tell you guys what you should do. Our reach is limited into your homes. But the reach of the gospel is only limited by what you're willing to do with it. And as I said, the media team is working. We're developing platforms to make this something that you are proud of, that you want people to see, that you want people to share in the gospel with. And we want you to share. We want you to comment, like, repost. We want you to do these things to make your church's ability to be more accessible. If you research, and later tonight, those of you that are interested, research Instagram algorithm. You will be shocked to see how few people will see posts just that we put up. It's shocking. But that's where our limit is. Our limit is basically into your homes. Those of you that are watching, your limit goes beyond what you can do with that. I can share this post to my friends. Yes, that's great. I can share our sermons to our friends. I've done that before. We've told people that, check us out on YouTube. We've seen great things happen from that. But when we're talking about the proliferation of the church of God, it's going to come from you individuals that are watching, sharing posts, commenting, continuing to tune in, texting others, saying, tune into my church, see these things. That's the limit of our extent into your homes. We're only limited by our own personal involvement with our church, whether it be virtual or in person. And we've seen nothing but great things coming from individuals that are sharing our statuses, that are reposting on Instagram. As I said, 3 billion users on Facebook. That's 3 billion people that you may have an opportunity to share the gospel with, these kinds of things. But we really are limited into what we can do, what we can post and put out there. It's basically up to you viewers. It's basically up to the people that are tuning in and seeing this to take this and share it and say, this is what I believe in. This is what I give to. This is what I'm proud of. This is my church. And we have to use technological advancements to do that. I know that that's hard for some individuals. We get comments all the time on Facebook. Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we doing this? We're utilizing our platform to the best of its ability. We're utilizing our platform to make the greatest impact. But again, our limit is into your homes. What you do with it out there extends our reach, extends the reach of the gospel. So we have to continue to share, comment, repost, tune in, and just stay actively engaged with your church. We love you guys so much. We miss that we can't see you guys in person. It is personally heartbreaking for me to have to be here in front of a group of empty chairs and 3 cameras, but we thank you guys for all that you have done. We thank you guys for all that you're investing into this ministry, into this church as we continue to grow. But please, there are just people out there, I really feel, and I'm not going to check you guys on this, but let's just agree. Let's make a commitment. Okay, we can't come into the doors of this church. And those of you that want to that say the most, I just want to go to church. Let's begin to do this. Let's begin to share even more aggressively. Let's share over and over and over our posts. Continue to put them on your timeline, your stories, these things, because that just shows the urgency behind what this congregation, what this body wants to do. But it's going to have to be through our social media platforms, through the technological advances we've been blessed with thus far. And we thank you guys again for tuning in. We love you guys. Don't forget, you can continue to give via your smartphone. You can go to an app store, look up Easy Tithe, search Praise Chapel Fresno. You can give that way. You can also go to praisechapelfresno.com, click the upper right-hand menu button, and it'll take you down. You can say give. It'll take you to a safe and secure website where you can give. Also, you can continue to mail in or drop off your tithes, your offerings here at the church. Please don't write what's on the envelope, just as if it were a regular letter, so that they drop it through. And if you're looking for our address, go ahead and Google us, Praise Chapel Fresno, California, and our address should come right up. But we love you guys. We miss you. We'll keep you updated on the phasing in of what's going to be happening when we're allowed to do in-person services again. So please stay connected, share, and comment. Stay actively engaged with your church. We love you, and we'll see you guys on Sunday morning, 10 a.m.